You are watching the DocTalk Show.
Welcome back to the DocTalk Show. We are discussing immunization, in particular the Uganda National Immunization Schedule, with our immunization experts, Dr. Fiona and Dr. Immaculate. So thereafter, do they receive new vaccines or do they receive the same vaccine, Dr. Immaculate?
The child is returned at 2.5 months, or what we usually call 10 weeks, and they receive the very vaccines they received at 6 weeks.
Okay.
The 5-in-1 pentavalent on the left thigh, the PCV pneumococcal on the right thigh. We repeat the oral vaccine, the oral polio vaccine, and of course the rotavirus vaccine. So it's the same vaccine.
It is the same as the one of 1.5 months.
Yes.
Yes. Then thereafter,
the mother returns at 3.5 months or 14 weeks. And there we give just the pentavalent, the 5-in-1. We give the PCV and the oral polio vaccine, plus the injectable polio vaccine.
So now they add an injectable polio vaccine at 3.5 months.
Yes.
Okay. So in other words, just saying the vaccines, administration of vaccines is based on previous
studies that have been done. And at what point in the child's life will the vaccine have the most impact?
Okay. I think that's what is called
because children are born with antibodies, for example, measles. So if you give the vaccine, measles vaccine, earlier than 6 months, the antibodies in the child from the mother will fight the vaccine like the disease. So the body will not be protected. So that's why we move towards 1 year to give the measles vaccine when the maternal antibodies have gone down.
Okay.
So all that is information from trials and scientific evidence.
Scientific evidence.
Not just sit and say, let them come and I give this. So it is the program. The program
it is an
evidence-based.
intervention.
When we are planning for interventions, how and when to give these interventions, not just and also feasibility within the existing maternal child health interventions.
Okay. So Dr. Fiona, as we're still discussing, the most aggressive period was the 3.5 months. Thereafter, do the children get any other vaccines?
So at 9 months, we introduced the measles vaccine.
So that's why the measles is not given at 3 months or 2 months?
No, it's not given before with the rest because by then the antibodies that the baby has gotten from the mother will now fight the vaccine.
Will fight the measles infection?
Yes, the vaccine. If we introduce
the vaccine instead.
So we introduce it at 9 months.
Okay.
To build, the immunity.
And according to the schedule, are there other people who would get a vaccine in the future?
Yeah.
Or is it only for children below 1 year?
As I said, in 2015, we introduced the vaccination against cervical cancer or cancer of the cervix. And we are targeting girls aged 10 years.
So that's a vaccine against the
human
virus
the human papilloma virus, which causes cervical cancer. And this virus is sexually transmitted. So we introduce it. Normally we want to introduce the vaccine before the body gets in touch with the disease we are preventing. That's why we are preventing the disease. So before the child or a human being gets in contact with that disease, we give a vaccine to build immunity so that the time the disease gets you, you have the ability to fight the disease. And
in this case, I think when you say before the person gets in contact with the disease, you mean at about the time before they start their sexual
activity. Yes.
Before they get into contact with the virus that is causing most of the cervical
cancers.
And
it is transmitted
by sexual contact, not necessarily intercourse, sexual contact.
Sexual contact.
Yes.
So this HPV can be vaccinated and prevented in girls
before they get
they're
into contact with the HPV virus.
Is there any reason why it is only given to girls? How about the boys? Would they be at risk of getting this cancer?
So, they would not be at risk of getting cervical cancer, but they're at risk because they don't have a cervix anyway.
But they're at risk of getting
cancer of getting human papilloma virus, which causes penile cancer of the penis. It also causes throat cancer, oropharyngeal carcinomas, and many other cancers.
Okay.
So these boys and viral warts, it also causes viral warts.
It also causes warts.
Warts that are genital warts. So boys would definitely benefit from this vaccine. However, in Uganda, we are giving it to girls for one reason. The justification that the government gave for introducing this vaccine was to prevent cervical cancer because of the high burden of cervical cancer. It's the second leading cause of cancer deaths in females in Uganda. So we're trying to curb the deaths from cervical cancer, not the other cancers. But the good news, and of course for cost effectiveness purposes, we could not afford it to boys. I wish we could give it to boys. But the good news is once we vaccinate to a certain level, if all our girls who are 10 and above are vaccinated, if we vaccinate at least 80% of them, then we get what we call herd immunity, and the boys are prevented from getting diseases caused by HPV.
Okay. So thank you very much for that explanation, Dr. Fiona. So Dr. Immaculate, we understand some women receive the tetanus vaccine, I think towards the time of pregnancy. Is it also part of the schedule?
Oh yeah, Uganda is with the other countries in the elimination of maternal neonatal tetanus. And we have been at it since the program began. And the challenge not only pregnant women, like you're saying, Dr. Darius, it is for women of childbearing age.
Not pregnancy alone,
not
all women of childbearing
ideally,
age.
by the time they are pregnant, they should be fully immunized. And women of childbearing means 15 and above.
Any woman who can get pregnant?
Yes. So the ideal would be to have these girls at 15 receive their 5 doses as per the recommended schedule, so that by the time they are pregnant, they have the evidence and you don't need to give them additional shots. But the challenge that we interact with these women only when they come for antenatal. And how about those who don't come for antenatal? So that's why we need now to really strengthen for HPV and tetanus
yes.
to strengthen the school health linkage with our health facilities.
Vaccination is very important. It's not just for children, even young girls and women of childbearing age should all receive appropriate vaccination according to the schedule. Now, I noted that some vaccines tend to be repeated.
From research, that some vaccines, for you to get full protection from the disease, you need multiple doses and boosters. We call them boosters. You get your immunity to a certain level, then if it's almost coming down, we boost it again. Then at one level, you will have your immunity up there and you're good to go. So it all comes from research.
Yes, and very many vaccines tend to have this repeated cycle, like hepatitis B or measles or polio vaccine. It's always important to to follow the routine and go for all the vaccination shots.
Yeah, it's like other medicines. You know, if you have malaria and you're given Coartem, there's a course, there's a schedule for you to really clear the parasites. So even for vaccines, to mount the level of immunity to sustain you, sustained immunity, you must adhere to the recommended schedule as provided by evidence.
Okay. So remember, you can always send your comments, our questions on our social media platforms, and our doctors will get back to you. We'll be back right after the break.